You are tuned in to a Fireside chat with Zany Mystic. Join us now on another exciting metaphysical journey. Relax, tune in, drop out, and take a seat by the fire as we explore new realms and possibilities. This is Magenta Pixie. You can find me at magentapixie.weebly.com. But now, here is Zany Mystic and guest. Enjoy the show.
Greetings, and welcome to a Fireside Chat with Zany Mystic. I'm your host, Lance White. Today, my guest is Barbara HAND CLOW, who is returning to do a second show since we opened so many doors during our first visit together. Barbara is an internationally acclaimed ceremonial teacher, author, and Mayan Calendar researcher. Her numerous books include The Pleiadian Agenda, Alchemy of Nine Dimensions, Catastrophobia, A Liquid Light of Sex, and the Mayan Code. She has taught at sacred sites throughout the world and maintains an astrological website, www.handclow2012.com. So let's welcome Barbara back to the show now. Hi, Barbara. How are you?
I'm great, Lance. Thanks. And if they go to the website, if they want the free astrology, they should go to AstroFlash.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, they could miss that. Yeah.
I wouldn't miss AstroFlash for the world. It's probably the most comprehensive analysis of astrology and Mayan cosmology and intuitive indigenous wisdom on the Internet. And it's free.
Yeah, that's very complimentary of you. And I've been having a wonderful time with it because I get to really tune into people on a regular basis, which I really enjoy.
Oh, yes, yes. Well, it's my favorite piece. In fact, I kind of hold my breath when it comes out. It's like, oh, boy, I get to read another AstroFlash. Now, you traditionally publish that on at each new moon. Is that correct?
Right, each new moon and then each one of the seasons, the equinoxes and the solstices. And then it's put in that context. In other words, every time we come up to a new season, and of course we're coming up close to the fall equinox now, then what happens is a new field goes into place that actually lasts for 3 months. And then where you really get a lot of wisdom is to use the new moons in order to further understand the process of the season. So that's kind of how I do it. Do you feel like I'm speaking to you when you read it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because that's how I'm doing it. And the reason that I'm doing it that way is when you really feel like you're speaking to people, then you also can hear them. And so when I'm working on the site, one of the things that's the most fun for me is that I can actually really feel and sense all of the people who are tuning into it. So it's kind of a special experience.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It kind of works like that on the radio, too.
I think that's true, isn't it?
Yeah. I think the key is authenticity. So,
and feeling. Like, for example, I've written, and you have too. You've also written a wonderful book. And I think when you can feel and hear the audience that's going to be tuning into you and reading your book eventually, then you write it to each person. And so when they read, that's what I liked about your book when I read it, was I could really feel you as a person coming through your book. And to tell you the truth, about 95% of what I read is not like that. I read it because I need the information or because I'm going on a journey or whatever. But it's really, Barbara Marciniak's work was like that too, where you could just feel her speaking to you as you read her, you know what I mean? And those are the kind of books that people really love.
Yes, I loved her work as well. And another one was, oh golly, now I'm going to lose my mind here. Ken Carey was one that impressed me at the time.
Yes, I agree with you.
Quite poetic.
And it's interesting because,
of course, there are many others that I haven't mentioned, and it's only because my mind isn't functioning fully right now.
Well, it isn't. No, all of us are dealing with Mercury retrograde. But I was going to say, also, it may be a Pleiadian characteristic.
Oh.
Also, that voice, because Ken Carey also considered himself to be from the Pleiades, and obviously Barbara Marciniak does too. And so, do you consider yourself to be from the Pleiades?
Yes, I do. I mean, I resisted it for the longest time, But I have to say that every time, the first time I read Marciniak's Pleiadian channeling at Stanford University, my eyes popped out of my head. I mean, like the cartoon characters, where they go boing, 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 boing. And I could not believe it completely changed my life.
Yeah, that's the case for many people. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course your work with the Pleiadians just is like a skyrocket beyond the moon. So I'm just soaking it in and enjoying every minute of it.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Do you want to hear how I found Barbara Marciniak? I was her publisher.
Yes.
Yeah. Bear & Company published the first couple of Barbara's books, and of course I was the editor at the time. And the way I found her was that I used to go to expos because I was a speaker at the expos. And then I was always doing two jobs in one, which I love, which was I was also looking for authors because I was the acquisitions editor for Bear. And so I was standing in the hallway at an expo, I think it was San Francisco, and about 400 or 500 people went herding past me like a herd of cattle. They almost got me down. And so I had a press pass, of course, so I could go where I wanted to go. So I just followed this herd of cows, and they all herded into this gigantic room, and there was Barbara Marciniak sitting up on the top of at the stage. And that's how I found her. And then I contacted her, and at that point, she had not written anything. She just had a lot of channelings that had been taped. And so, we worked with her to transcribe those channelings and to make the first book was Bringers of the Dawn. And so that's how I found her, and it was kind of a wonderful experience.
Wow, that is wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, where are things headed today? I mean, are the Pleiadians still giving guidance to people? Some claim that the channeling realms have become distorted through various dark channels.
Yeah. Well, you'd have, one place to judge that would be to go to AstroFlash. Because, of course, when I'm working, I use astrology as like a divination tool.
Yes.
Using the seasons and the moons, I just give you a circle of cosmic energies and planetary forces. And so then I also combine issues connected with the end of the Mayan calendar here. But really what I'm doing is I'm using these as focusing tools in order to see what's really going on. And we are coming into an amazing period this fall. A really, truly amazing period. I'm teaching in India in early October and also in Europe in the fall. And so I have to get 4 AstroFlashes all done before I leave, which is extremely difficult for me because normally I go along very progressively. When it comes time for the new moon, I work on it right before the new moon and I publish it. But in this case, this all has to be in advance. And so this of course, was a Pleiadian trick to get me into doing 4 of them at once, so I can see the implications of all 4, if you see what I mean.
Interesting.
And so this fall, now as you know, in terms of the Mayan calendar, we're moving into the period right before Day 7. Day 7 starts on November 2nd, 3rd. And when we move into Day 7, we're moving into the fruition of the whole galactic underworld. That's the time period from 1999 through 2011. And when we come to the fruition point, that's when we get, all the goodies off the tree, so to speak, in terms of an underworld. And the galactic underworld, of course, the purpose of the galactic underworld has been to evolve us into oneness as a species by means of technology. So we've had this huge, intense technological experience since early 1999. Right after, that it started out with that emphasis on Y2K, and then it just kept going all the way through everybody getting on the internet and everybody having BlackBerries and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So this has really, really been intense and like it's been, at least it's made me dizzy because I'm not even technological. And yet, whether you're technological or not, everybody has been pulled into this. And so when you try to think of fruition of an evolutionary development like that, it must have something to do with us actually being all interconnected with each other during Day 7, which starts in November. And that's a pretty amazing thought, to start to, even if you resist technology, to still surrender to the possibility that maybe something's going on here that's actually moving us into being a unified species. And I think it is.
Yes. Well, it seems like the way that I'm sensing this is that we're gradually or slowly moving into back into an empathic and psychic communication with one another in unity. So
that's true.
These devices are like little stepping stones, and there will be glitches in the system where maybe there's an electromagnetic pulse and the computers will be down or the grids will be down, and people will start to realize that they can't rely on the gadgets, which are, have no fail-safes, nor do the satellites. And it's even conceivable that all of the world's wealth could be wiped out in one EMP.
Yeah, and I agree with you, but I also think that there's another possibility. And what makes me think this is possible is because I don't know if you've ever done any work with the phone psychically. People are actually work as phone psychics. Because you've probably talked to a psychic on the phone. In other words, there are people who actually can use the phone as a psychic tool. So as far as I can tell, with these different tools that we have, like phones or computers or whatever, all they really are tools that allow us to go to another level. But it's possible that the tools themselves are part of this process, and that's where I don't want to be judgmental about it, even though I'm not particularly technological, and I can see the bad side of technology, which is a very, very huge issue. I also think it's possible that the technology itself is part of the teaching here. So all we can do, of course, is just watch that and see.
Yes, well,
but what
of
I can
course.
see. Yeah, but what I can see as an astrologer, okay, so first of all, understanding the Mayan calendar helps us understand what's happening in November. And then, as you know, there's also the issue of another underworld starting in March, the universal underworld. So we're really going down into the zone now, if you know what I mean. And then regarding astrology should reflect that this is happening to our species. And if it doesn't, something funny is going on. And also, astrology should give us some answers about what the key issues are as we deal with such a major shift. And so by being forced to look at 4 months of this astrology instead of only 1 month, I can just see some incredible things that are unfolding here at this point. And basically, the real new energy actually starts coming in strongly during the new moon in Virgo, which is September 8th. That's next Wednesday.
Ooh.
So, right after Labor Day. And so we have a Virgo new moon. And then we, of course, have a full moon right after, 2 weeks after that. It's always like that. And the Virgo new moon seems to be setting up an agenda for a major wave of compassion on the planet. A major healing wave of compassion that's going to be triggered by something. Of course, I don't know exactly what that is. Astrology doesn't predict, like specific events. Astrology will just show you a tendency for something to happen. But the reason I know this is a really big deal is, first of all, I can see this wave of compassion coming in through this new moon. But then what happens is the full moon occurs only a few hours after the fall equinox, which is actually quite unusual, a configuration like that. And then the full moon itself strongly aspects the equinox. The fall equinox is when the sun goes into zero